Hey, it's Ryan with S&B Tanks, and today we're going to be doing an install video for the 2000 to 2016 Ford cabin chassis after axle tanks. As you can see here, we have two part numbers that cover these ranges. We have 10-1001 and 10-1002. We're going to be installing the 10-1001, which is that tank right there, which fits the 2011 to 2016 trucks. But you can pretty much follow along, and we're going to show you the slight differences on the 10-1002 for the older cabin chassis after axle tanks. So to do this install, all you're going to need is a 19mm socket, 15mm socket, 8 or 10 inch extension, a pair of pliers, 8mm nut driver, your flathead, and a mallet. When you receive your tank, make sure you check your part number. It's opposite of the fill neck. This is a 10-1001. This tank looks very similar to our 10-1002, so make sure that you have the correct tank for your truck. And then also make sure that your 3 openings, your fill port, your vent port, and your rollover vent are all drilled out cleanly. And besides that, you should be ready to start the install. So this is the part where it's going to differ for every cabin chassis depending on how you've upfitted it and what bed is on your truck that you're working on. We were fortunate enough to get one here with the fuel tank exposed, but I'm going to kind of give you the pointers on how to do it if you have a flat bed or something else that you can't get to it. You're generally going to have to go in right above the frame rail here or from the bottom to get to your 2 8mm hose clamps on your fill and vent hoses. So once you get to those, just loosen those up. And once you have those loose, your best bet is going to be every truck you're going to be able to get to the outside of the frame rail pretty easily. So I just pull from the outside and twist, and they kind of pop right off. And that's all you have to do back here. So because our tank is located here, open to us, we're not going to be lifting the vehicle today. But either way, you're going to want to take a floor jack or a transmission jack, preferably a transmission jack, and just put a little pressure on the bottom of the tank before you start undoing your 4 corner bolts. And then you're ready to go with undoing those. So to begin loosening your 4 15mm bolts that hold the tank into the frame, you're going to have one right back here on this corner. You got this corner as well. Then you have 2 in the front, 1 on each strap. Up here, there's going to be 2 bolts next to each other on each strap. One holds the strap to the skid plate underneath the tank, and then one holds the whole assembly to the frame. One's a 15mm, one's a 19mm. Make sure you get the 15mm. Those are going to be the ones holding the entire assembly to the frame. So I'll begin going underneath and just removing these now. So assuming you don't have this kind of visibility to your tank here in access, you're going to want to lower the tank about 8 to 12 inches while underneath the truck, as I'll show here. And you just want to get enough clearance to get to your lines and get a hand in there like he has right there. And once you have your hand in there, we're going to go ahead and show you how to get all the connectors off from the top just because we have really good visibility here. But your access is going to be between the axle and the front of the tank, as he just showed you right there. When we received this truck, the blue fuel clip here was broken. As you can see, the tab's missing from it. I removed this prior to starting the video just to make it easier, but if you happen to break one of these upon install, just give us a call. We have these little connectors in stock. And I'll show you how to remove the yellow one here. It's the same as the blue one. After you get them unplugged, you can just pull them out of there if you want to get them out of your way and just push them down a little bit. But you will pull the tab away from the connector here and then depress and kind of just wiggle a little bit. And sometimes they come right off like that. Other times it may take you 10 or 15 minutes to get them off. This can be one of the more frustrating parts of these installs. It's kind of just truck by truck and how recently someone had pulled these off. Then on your electrical connector here, it's a normal just retaining clip electrical connector. Just take a flathead on the back of it, push, pop the retaining clip towards the rear of the vehicle, depress the tab on it, and it comes right off and you're ready to drop the tank. So here we've moved over to the earlier style 2000 to 2010 cabin chassis after axle tanks. You can see the sending unit looks a little different. You're gonna have different style connectors as well. And your sending unit might look a little different than this. It might be the smaller size. Don't worry, we provide an adapter to work with our snap ring for both style sending units here. But on these, all you're gonna really need to do is just push in on the blue tabs and push forward and back and rock them a little bit. And then your electrical connector is going to be on the back side here on the frame rail. You'll see it right, it feeds down, out, and then your connector is right down here. It's a simple connector. And you'll remove your 6 bolts right here. You can discard these bolts as we replace you with a snapping ring, like the newer style truck I showed you earlier. You use the snap in with our gasket and our provided hardware here. And that's really the only differences you're going to see on the 2000 to 2010 trucks. So now that your sending unit and your fill and vent lines are completely disconnected, the tank is fully disconnected from the truck, so you can begin with dropping it down. You might want to have a buddy help you, just keep it stable as you go ahead and let it down slowly. So before removing any sending unit, you're going to want to take some compressed air or a towel and clean out around it so you don't get any fuel down into the bucket of the sending unit. So now that that's clean, all you need is your dead blow and a flathead screwdriver, and figure out which direction you're going to knock out the ring. It goes clockwise. No, it's not. It definitely comes out. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. I'm completely stupid. We'll try it again. So before removing any sending unit, you're going to want to take some compressed air or a towel and just blow out any debris around it to make sure it doesn't get down in the bucket of the sending unit. And then to knock out your ring, you're going to rotate it counterclockwise. So just take your flathead screwdriver, put it in the ring, take your mallet. And it's that easy, it just pops right out. Once you've removed that, get your sending unit out from underneath the lip, raise it up, and then make sure you angle to get your float out. And now you're ready to transfer your sending unit to the new S&B replacement tank. So your sending unit just goes into the S&B tank, same way it came out of the stock one. Feed your float in first, and feed your sending unit down. Make sure you clock it with the knob on the sending unit pointing at the arrow on the S&B tank here. And it just pushes down. We had the O-ring seated in there before. Make sure your O-ring's seated flush. Put your ring back on, press down evenly all the way around, and give it about a quarter turn. Then you're good to come in here with your hammer. And it goes in clockwise. And you're in. So on the sending unit end of your tank, you have your 2 strap bolts, one under each strap. It's a 19 millimeter. Just come in here and loosen both of those up. So after you've loosened both of your strap bolts, come to the back side of the tank, and there's a little tab back here. If you just press down on the back of the strap, pull towards the front of the vehicle, come right out, put down on the back of the strap, towards the front of the vehicle, and you get both straps out. So now that you have your straps removed, you can go ahead and pull your tank out from your skid plate. You're probably going to want to have a buddy help you out on this part. Tank likes to get seized, and there's one, you can put a little pry bar in between the tank and the skid plate in these gaps and just help unbind it a little bit, just pry lightly. And once you've done that, have your friend come help you lift. And once you got it free, just remove it from the skid plate. So once you've removed your stock tank from your skid plate, just go ahead and take your S&B, make sure you orient it the way the stock was oriented in the skid plate. You just drop it in and it'll fit right into those indentations in the skid plate and kind of align itself. So once you've got your S&B tank in your skid plate, go ahead and reinsert your straps. Same thing, go to the bottom of that tab, just push them towards the rear of the vehicle, pull up, You drape them over and thread your bolt through your hole there. And then same thing on the other side here. There's plenty of extra thread, so you shouldn't have a problem getting them started here. So once you've got your straps on the back of the tank, go ahead and just thread them through the hole. Start your 19mm nut on the back side. And then same thing on the opposite side. And then just tighten down. So now go ahead and position your tank back onto whatever jack you're using. Roll it back underneath the truck. And here, just make sure you're clear of all the brake lines and other stuff that's around that rear axle. Start jacking it up, and for those of you who don't have as nice of access to your tank, which is probably most of you, remember when you're about 8 to 10 inches shy, go ahead and crawl underneath and get your lines all back hooked up. So again, most of you would have probably been doing this as the tank was about 8 inches below where it is now. But go ahead and clip your yellow one onto your front line. Blue goes onto your rear line. Electrical connector clips right on. And then remember to just push your locking tab back over. And if you unclipped any of your fuel lines out of this holder, go ahead and just clip those back down. And you're going to come back around to your fill and vent hoses. So if your access is as good as ours, you can go ahead and do your fill and vent hoses now before screwing your 4 bolts that hold the tank up. Otherwise, you're going to want to put the tank all the way up, screw your 4 bolts in, and come here and do your fill and vent hoses. But it's pretty much the opposite as they came off. Just make sure you get them back on over the top of the lips. Take your 8mm nut driver back to them. And you'll be ready to go. And this one, just make sure you get it over the lip. It doesn't have to go all the way down. As long as you're past the lip that's molded into the tank, you're good to go. So now that your tank's either fully connected or you still have your vent hoses to do, go ahead and hand thread 2 back bolts in, as well as your 2 fronts, while lining it up on the jack. And then follow up with your front 2 bolts on each corner up here. So once you've got it hand threaded to start, it's just a 15mm extension. Come on here. And you can tighten all 4 corners down. So at this point, you're ready to start transferring fuel into your newly installed S&B tank. We don't recommend transferring fuel from the aluminum tank that you just took out because it could have delaminated or probably did delaminate if you're ordering our tank. We also recommend looking into cleaning out your primary fuel filter and your fuel lines to be sure that you don't have any problems down the road from residual delamination material in your fuel lines, taking out an injector or something along those lines. If you have any questions that I didn't cover today, go to our website or give us a call. Thank you for buying your S&B tank.